Survivor by Lesley Pearse, read by Alison Dowling. Chapter 1. Russell, New Zealand, 1931. Mariette is so... Miss Quigley paused. Her thin lips pursed as she searched for a suitable adjective to describe her errant pupil. So defiant. Belle resisted the temptation to smile at the schoolmistress's description of her 11-year-old daughter. When Belle was a child, it was often said of her, too. It was around 4:30, and Miss Quigley had called on Belle after dismissing her pupils for the day. Belle had shown the teacher into the parlour as a mark of respect, but she had no intention of offering tea, as she didn't want to encourage the woman to linger. "I think what you are seeing is just a sign of a strong character. What exactly has she been up to that you find so distressing?" "I have no particular incident to illustrate it, but she challenges everything I say. Just the other day I was telling the class how many New Zealand soldiers lost their lives in the Great War, and she claimed that France lost 25% of her men." "But that's true," Belle said. "I wouldn't call it defiance to point that out, especially when her father is French and fought for his country." It was tempting to add that Etienne had been awarded the Croix de Guerre for his courage, but he wouldn't like her to boast about that. Miss Quigley crossed her arms. "But she has a view on everything. I also get very irritated by her teaching the other children dubious French phrases." "I think you'll find there is nothing dubious about them. She just likes the sound of the language. I doubt very much that it is anything more than 'please pass me a pencil' or 'it's very hot today.' Both her father and I wish her to be bilingual, and we're delighted with her progress." Miss Quigley's disapproving sniff was evidence that she regarded teaching a child French as something subversive. "She is overconfident." She rapped this out like an insult. "She's always the first child to speak out, takes the lead in everything." "I'm very sorry that you find that troubling." Belle thought this dried-up old stick of a schoolmistress should concentrate her energies on helping the less able children in the school, and be glad she had at least one pupil who liked to learn. "I would have thought a teacher would like to see such enthusiasm. It is, after all, a compliment to your teaching." "Pride cometh before a fall," the schoolmistress retorted with another disapproving sniff. "She may be a big fish in this little pool, but how will she manage when she comes up against even bigger fish?" "A confident child will adjust." Belle was growing cross. "Now shall we discuss her progress at school? I assumed that was what you came for." "She reads and writes very well," Miss Quigley said begrudgingly. "She is quick at arithmetic, too, but she distracts the other children when she has finished her work and prevents them from finishing theirs." "By talking to them?" Belle felt they were at last getting somewhere. "Yes." "Then I'll tell her that she mustn't do that. But maybe you could give her more work or another job to keep her occupied." Belle had realized some time ago that Miss Quigley had taken against Mariette. She didn't think it was because the girl was quicker or smarter than other children of the same age, but purely because neither Mariette nor Belle sucked up to her the way that so many of the other children and mothers in Russell did. A plain, thin and reserved woman in her late 40s, Miss Quigley had arrived in Russell to teach around the same time that Belle had married Etienne. Rumour had it that she'd chosen to come to Russell to be nearer Silas Waldron, a widower who lived in Kerikeri, whom she'd met in Auckland. Perhaps she'd hoped friendship would blossom into love and marriage, but it obviously hadn't. It was never going to be easy for a single woman with no close friends or family in the area to adjust to living in such an isolated community after living in a big city. Miss Quigley had little in common with her pupils' mothers, whose lives revolved around their husbands and families, and she probably found them rather backward-thinking. It didn't help that she was so starchy and prim. She had no small talk and rarely smiled, let alone laughed. And if she had hoped she might find a husband amongst the wealthy men who came here to fish for marlin in the summer, she was out of luck. Belle doubted any of them would want a plain middle-aged woman who looked like she'd spent her life sucking.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?